Today's topic is integrity constraints. Hello everyone. Am I audible to all?
Yes, sir.
And my screen is visible to all?
Yes, sir.
Reply me fast. Okay. Okay. So we continue. So what is integrity constraint? Because when we consider database, user can store data into the database by using some applications or by using some DML queries. Okay. So while inserting data into databases, there must be some restriction data. Data must be valid, and means whatever the data inserted by the user, it must be valid. So it needs to be checked whether user is inserting a valid data or not. So for that, some conditions, constraints means kind of a conditions. So we have to apply it on a database. So before inserting data into databases, so that all conditions or constraints are to be checked by DBMS. The conditions are to be checked by the DBMS, and only the valid data is to be inserted into the databases. Means DBMS allows only the valid data. So we can define data integrity. It refers to the correctness and completeness of a data in databases. So what is correctness? Means a valid data. Data should be valid. Valid means what? If suppose we consider a phone number as one column in a table. So what is valid data? So data should be of 10 digits, and it should be a numeric. This is a valid data, right? So while inserting the record of a student or any employee into the table there were, so for the phone number, that user must have to insert 10-digit number. That is a valid data. If it is not entered valid data, so DBMS doesn't allow to the enter into the database. So this is what the check for the insertion. So it refers to the correctness. And what is completeness? It must be complete. Whatever the record we are inserting into database, it must be complete. It must be whole. So what is constraint? So constraints enforce the limits to the data or the type of a data that can be inserted, updated, and deleted from the table. Means we are enforcing, DBMS enforce what? A kind of limits on a data, on the type of data. The whole purpose of the constraint is to maintain the data integrity during an update, delete, and insert into the databases. As we know that there are two options done with the databases. One is write and second is read. So whenever we are writing data in databases, means we are inserting, updating, or we are deleting data from the databases. So in the three DML commands, so we are doing what? We are writing into the databases. So while writing into databases, so we have to check out that it is correctly inserted and completely inserted into the database or not. So for that, constraints are used. So we can say what is integrity constraint? It is a mechanism. It is a mechanism used to prevent invalid data into the table. This is what we can say. Integrity constraint kind of mechanism which force the user to enter a valid data into the databases. Okay, are you getting this one? It's a mechanism to prevent the invalid data means what that? It is forcing the user to enter the valid data, correct data into the databases. It means that you are enforcing some conditions on the attributes. So we are enforcing some kind of conditions, constraints on that columns of data into the databases. Basically, there are three types of integrity constraints. The first is domain integrity constraint. second is entity and the integrity constraint, and third one, that is referential integrity constraint. So all of you know that what is domain? Can somebody tell me what is domain? Reply first.
Set of values.
What is?
Set of
Repeat
values.
again. Set of values.
values.
Okay. Anybody other? So domain means what? It is a set of permitted values. Not only the values, it is a set of permitted values. Means what? Suppose for a phone number, again, for a phone number, suppose we have to insert 10-digit data, right? So 10 digits. Okay. This is what the permitted value. One thing. If suppose we are inserting roll number, and the type for the roll number is integer, right? Is number. And in bracket, if we are defined the size, suppose size defined as a 3. Size defined as a 3. So my number, that roll number starts from the range for the particular number is from 000, that 3 bytes, 3 digits, from 000 to 999. Are you doing this? From 000 to 999. This is my range of values, and this is the permitted list of value, permitted set of values. So user must have to insert the data within that limit from 000 to 999. This is what the domain for the roll number column. Are you getting this one? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So we have to insert some constraints based upon that domain of the column. So these are comes under the domain integrity constraints. The another one is entity integrity constraints, where we have to consider the entity whole as an entity, not for the column, not for the row, whole as an entity. So entity, regarding that we have to insert some constraints. So we'll see, right? And the next one, that is referential integrity constraints. This is basically used for what? Maintaining the relationship among the entities. Maintaining the relationship among the entities. So we have seen in different data models in a DBMS. So there must be some relationship between the entities in a database. If you consider, there is one table called as an employee and second table called as a department. Or if you take another example, that is student and department, right? So there must be a department so that the student, they can take admission to the department, right? So department table is called as a parent table, and student table can be called as a child table. So students belongs to the department. This is the relationship between that department table and the student table. Are you getting so? So how to maintain that relationship in a tables there were? So we have to enforce some referential constraints. So we'll see. So there are the 3 different types of integrity constraints. In the first domain integrity constraint, the first constraint is not null. Not null. So by default, for all the attributes in a table, for all the columns in a table, the default value is null value. Default value is null value. Suppose null means nothing. Null means nothing. Suppose in an employee table, if you want to insert some record in an employee table, some data for employee number, employee name, then salary, job title. So for all that columns, data must be required there. Means it is compulsory field. It is compulsory field. But suppose for the phone number or other kind of data or address, if it is not compulsory, it's optional. So to make it compulsory, so we have to use that domain constraint, that is not null. Okay. So by default, values for the columns are null values. When not null constraint is enforced on a column or a set of columns, it will not allow null values. Null value allow karna nahi. It is what? We have to insert something into the particular column. Means that column we are making as a making as a compulsory column, right? By default, all columns are optional, and we are making as a compulsory column. Okay. So how to use that not null constraint with the table? So we can apply all that constraints while creating a table, while designing a database. Right? So we can apply all the constraints while designing the table. So this is not DML command. These are the kind of constraints we are applying on DDL commands while defining a table or defining a database object. Okay, so let's see. Not null. So here is a syntax. Syntax is given. SQL create table name in bracket. This is syntax for how to create the table, right? Here we are imposing what? Imposing what? Not null constraint, right? So create table name in bracket column name, data type in bracket size. This is syntax for creating the particular column. And the second column is column name, then data type, and then we are specifying what that second column is type of not null. Means first column may be optional, but second column there must be some data. Yes, data must be required, right? So in example, if we say create table student. So we are creating one table called as student. The first column is roll number, number type in bracket size is 5. Right? The next is name varchar2 in bracket 20, and that is not null. That is not null. Not null means what? The name should be there. Name should be there. The user must have to insert the name attribute for the every student, because it is not null. Not null means it is required there. It is compulsory. So to make the particular attribute as a compulsory attribute, so we can make it as a not null attribute, right? Are you getting this one? All reply me. Hello? Reply me. सगळ्यांना समजते का?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. So we can apply that not null constraints while creating a table or after creation of a table. So once table is created and we have to apply not null constraints to the some of the columns, then can we apply it? So we can apply it. So we can use one command called as a alter table. So basically, alter table command is used for what? For what? We can use it for modifying either type or the size of the particular column. Or here we can use again the modify case in alter table command to apply a constraint to the existing column in a table. Okay. So the command is alter table emp. So emp is one table which is already created by the user having some attributes. Then we are applying not null constraint to the emp name. Right here. So alter table name is emp. Then case is what? Modify. We can do what? Add or modify. Add means we can adding new column into the table, and modify means either we can modify the size and type of the particular column. And here we can modify the constraint for the particular column. Okay. So modify employee name. The type is varchar, and then size is 20. And here we are applying, which is the not null constraint on the existing employee name in an existing emp table. Okay. So we can apply constraint at the time of creating a table or after creation of a table. Okay. So next is a check constraint. In domain constraint, there are second constraint is a check constraint. So what it checks? The constraint defines a condition that each row must satisfy. A single column can have multiple check conditions. Suppose if you take one example of a bank account. So whenever, suppose there is one condition by the bank, so the balance of the customer, it should be greater than 500. Means minimum balance for the particular customer should be 500. So this is the condition. So while opening the new account in the bank, the balance should be greater than 500, and after withdrawing some, once we have created an account in the bank, but after withdrawal of each transaction, right? So there must be a 500 balance into the account. So for that, we have to apply some check constraint on that columns. So syntax is what? So create table, table name, then column name, data type, column 2, data type, and on that column 2, if suppose the constraint you were to define, so the check constraint can be defined using some syntax, that is constraint, that is the one keyword used to apply the check constraint. Then here we have to give some constraint name. This is the constraint name where it is specified, that is defined by the user, and here we can use a check constraint. That is actually the check keyword. Okay, so to apply a check constraint, what we have to do? We have to define a column, that is column name, then type, then we have to use a keyword called as a constraint, then space, then constraint name that is defined by the user. This is a constraint name defined by the user, and then actual keyword called as a check constraint for that. And in a check constraint, we have to specify some condition. Here we have to specify some condition. There must be a condition that needs to be checked by the check constraint. Okay. So if you take example, create table EMP. In that the columns are ID, type of a number in bracket, size is 5. The name is a varchar 2, and the size is 10. The salary column is there. Salary, type of number, salary, that is type of number, and size is 10. And the constraint, this is a keyword. This is a keyword used. This is the constraint, this is the keyword, and then this check sal, this is the constraint name given by the user. Check sal, this is the constraint name given by the user. You can give any kind of constraint one, P1. So this is what the defined constraint. Then this is the check keyword. Post check constraint in bracket. This is the condition. So condition, a salary should be less than 15,000. You can say this is the minimum salary for the employee. This is the minimum salary for the employee. So while inserting record into the table, suppose SQL is written here. Suppose we have to insert a record into the table. Insert into EMP. Okay, insert into EMP. Then columns are ID, comma, name, comma, salary. Right. The values are suppose for the ID we have 1000 is ID. The name is in a single quotation, that is Raj, and then your salary is, if suppose I have inserted 10,000 or 12,000, suppose. Okay, means already we have inserted, imposed or enforced a check constraint on a table called as a AMP, and here after creation of a table we are inserting a record into the empty table. So when the user is trying to insert the record, what will happen? So that user is inserting that 12,000 for the salary column. So DBMS checks forward, it will go into the that constraint, it will check whatever the salary inserted by the user is sal column right now. So it is right now 12,000. Is it greater than 15,000? If it is true, then it allows the user to insert record into the table. Otherwise, it will say error that you are violating that check constraint. Means you have to insert more than 15,000. Right? Are you getting this one? How to use check constraint? Hello? Reply me.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Means once while creating a table, we are enforcing what? A check constraint. The condition is what? The salary should be greater than 15,000. And while inserting, if user suppose inserted a salary value that is 12,000, so it doesn't allow to insert the record. Means this is not a complete record. This is not a valid record to insert into table. So this is what integrity constraint. So constraint allows the user or force the user to enter a valid data. Okay. So 12,000. So it doesn't allow. If suppose it is 16,000, then that particular record is inserted into the table, right? Because that satisfies the condition that salary is greater than 15,000. That's why it allows the user to insert record into the table. Okay. This is what the example. The next one, that is, you can say this is sorry. Suppose it's 12,000. So you can see this record is not allowed. Okay, and if it is greater than 16,000, then allowed. Okay, means that record is inserted. The next is what after table creation. So once table is created, we can we insert the check constraint into that. So we can impose the check constraint by using alter table command. By using alter table command. We are adding new constraint into the table. That's why alter table emp, and here we have to add as a new constraint. Add constraint. Constraint name is check emp, and what check the keyword in bracket. This is the condition. Okay. So while inserting a constraint, we have to follow the particular syntax, that is, we have to mention the constraint as a keyword, then constraint name defined by the user, then check keyword, and in bracket the condition which is required. Right? This is syntax to insert the particular check constraint after creation of a table. Okay. The second constraint, that is entity integrity constraint. So in that, there are two constraints under the entity integrity constraint. The first constraint is a primary key constraint, and second constraint is a unique key constraint. So in a primary key constraint, it is used to avoid redundant and duplicate values entry within the row of specified column in a table. It restricts null values too. So simply, I can simplify that statement. So the primary key constraint doesn't allow null values. Second one, it avoids duplication. when we apply that primary key constraint on a particular column, so for the particular column, it doesn't allow null values, means that column is compulsory right now. Not null means compulsory, right? Doesn't allow the null values. And second one, it avoids duplication, means for suppose in a student table, roll number is a column, right? So there must be a unique roll number of students. 1, 2, 3 should be unique. So once that roll number is defined as a primary key, that user doesn't allow you to enter values. Means what? Suppose for the roll number, one record is inserted, for to another record is inserted. And suppose you inserting another record having roll number 1 is already inserted. So if he is inserting your record having roll number is 1, means that roll number is duplicate now. So in that case, if primary key is enforced into the table, then it will to enter a duplicate value. Are you getting this one? What is syntax? Syntax is what? Create table, table name, column, name, data type, column 2 name, data type, and here we are inserting what a primary key concept. So syntax is what? This is syntax. Create table, table name, column is no. We have to import equals a primary key constants. Column name 2, type of data, data type is here, then size defined, then constraint keyword. Again the same way we have imported that check constraint. So constraint is a keyword, then constraint name, that is a user, and then actual constraint, that is a primary key, that is a keyword. Primary key as a keyword. Likewise, you can import a primary key constraint. So here is the example. Create table EMP ID. So ID, there is a number type having the size is a 5, and we are imposing a primary constraint on ID. So constraint, then the constraint name given by the user, that is ID underscore PK. PK is primary key, right? And then actual keyword for the primary is a primary key. Then comma, name, varchar 2 in bracket, size is 10, then salary, number in bracket 10. Okay, have you got that? How to enforce a primary key constraint? Reply me fast. Are you getting this one?
Yes.
How to enforce primary key constraint? It's very simple, no problem. But what is follows syntax? What? Constraint is a keyword, then constraint name given by the user, and then actual constraint. That is a primary key check constraint. What other constraint is there? Okay. Then after creation of a table, once table is created, we can again enforce a primary key constraint, that is alter table EMP, and here we can use add. Syntax is here. Add constraint. Add, that we are adding new constraint. That's why add case is used. Constraint is a keyword. PK underscore EMP. This is the constraint name given by the user, and this is the actual constraint is a primary key. And on which column we are to enforce the particular primary key constraint, that is a EMP ID in the employee table. So EMP table is already exist in the database, and we are imposing or we are enforcing a primary key on EMP ID. That's why we are using a alter table command on a EMP, and we are adding a constraint. Constraint name is given by the user, that is a primary key, and on a particular EMP ID column in a table, we are imposing that primary key constraint. Okay, have you got that? Primary key basically used for what? For two conditions. One is what? It avoids duplication, and second one, it doesn't allow null values. Okay, and through the primary key, we can uniquely identify a record from a table. Uniquely identify a record from a table. Because is there, if suppose there is no any duplication in a column called as a roll number, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So once we require one record of a fifth roll number. So fifth is a unique. Fifth roll number is a unique. So we can identify a record from a table uniquely by using the primary key constraint. Okay. The second constraint in that integrity constraint, that is unique constraint. Unique constraint uniquely identifies each record in a database table. Again, it uniquely identifies a record in a table. So what is the difference between unique and the primary key? The unique and primary key constraints both provides a guarantee for uniqueness for the column or set of columns. So it guarantees what? Uniqueness in a particular column. Okay. But what is the difference in that unique constraint? Unique constraint unique constraint again avoids duplication, but it allows null values. Primary key constraints, it avoids duplication as well as it doesn't allow null values. But in case of unique constraint, it avoids duplication, but it allows null values. So we can insert null values, but we cannot insert duplicate values in a column when we define the column as a type of unique. Okay, this is our unique constraint. So what is syntax? Again the same. Create table, table name, column, data type, column 2, data type. Again the same syntax. Constraint, the keyword, constraint name, that is the name given by the user, and then key, that is unique. The constraint name is, the keyword is unique for that. So there is no key. So in a primary key is the keyword required, but in case of unique key, only unique is a keyword required. Okay. An example, create table persons. So persons is a kind of a table we are creating. Person ID is a type of number, and here we are inserting what? Constraint, that p underscore uk, that is a constraint name given by the user, and unique, that is a keyword for unique constraint. So here for the persons, the BID is a unique attribute. Means here we cannot insert duplicate values for the person, but it allows the null values. Means it is not compulsory field right now. First name is type of varchar2 and 20 is the size. City varchar2 20 is the size. So in that way we can create a unique key constraint like the primary key constraint. The difference is what? It allows null value and avoids the duplication. After table creation, unique can be added as alter table emp, add constraint. So again we are inserting what? New constraint. So add case is used here. Add constraint, phone number unique key. So PH UK, this is the constraint name given by the user, which is type of a unique, and in bracket on which column we are inserting that unique keyword or unique key constraint, that is on a phone number. So this is in bracket phone number. We can use it for employee table when it is exists in a database. Okay, have you got that? Is clear to all? Entity constraint, there are two constraints, primary key constraint and unique key constraint. Okay, reply me. And next. So यहाँ काला का, you understood? Aditya, Layo, am I audible to all?
Yes, sir.
Shravani,
Yes, sir.
Tanuja,
Yes, sir.
की फास्ट हाँ सगळ्यांना कळालं का हे
Yes.
Yes, sir.
ओके रिप्लाय करत जा okay the next constraint yes next constraint is referential integrity constraint so why we use that referential constraint basically we are using that constraint for what maintaining relationship among the entities in a table entities in a database if suppose as I told earlier there are two tables called as employee table and second is the department table. So from the two table, the employee table and department table. So department table is a parent table. Okay, because there must be a department table that after that we can take employee into the department table, right? So a department table is a parent table and employee table is a child table right now. Okay. So to maintain relationship among that, as we know that our name Ranjit Vittal Pawar. This is my name, right? So my first name indicates my name, my identity. Middle name indicates what my father identity, right? Parent. This is what relationship. And Pawar indicates what my surname. This is again what the parent of all that. Vittal and Ranjit, right? This is the Pawar family. So that's why to maintain relationships among the entities, therefore, so we have to use what referential integrity constraint. Right. So in the referential constraint, it is used to establish a parent-child relationship between the two tables. A value of a foreign key is derived from the primary key. To impose or to enforce that referential integrity constraint, so we can impose it on a primary keys. Okay. Suppose in a department table, there are two columns: department number and department name. So for the parent table, that for department table in the table, so department number must be a primary key. Must be a primary key. There is a condition for that, right? And in case of a employee table, there must be a foreign key, which referring to the primary key of a parent table. Example, just see. Suppose this is an employee table. Another example is here. So there is one employee table. This is called the parent table, and we are creating one more child table from that employee table. That is called the product. That is what number is something, and employee ID is 1000. Okay, and here ID 10, 100 produced one product called as a product ID and product name. Okay, so this is a child table and employee is called as a parent table. So to maintain relationship among the two tables, the parent and child table, here in the employee table, that EMP ID, it must be a primary key. It must be a primary key. And here in the child table, that employee ID must be there and it should be a foreign key. It should be a foreign key. Okay. And then we can maintain what that relationship among the two table. Okay, have you got that? How that child and parent table should be there, and there should be a common attribute, employee ID. There should be a common attribute among the two tables, parent and child table, right? There must be that. So a primary key is defined as in a parent table, and foreign key is defined in a child table. Okay, so here you can see again that employee ID is a primary key that is in a parent table, and that employee ID in a child table is a foreign key. Okay, there must be. Then how to create? What is the syntax for that? Create table, table name, then column name, type, size. Suppose this column name that is in a parent. Right now we are creating a parent table is already created, and we are creating a child table here. Okay, we are creating what? A child table here. So this is a column in a child table. So we are referring that column to the parent table's primary key attribute. Okay, we'll see an example. So you can clear your ideas. Okay. So in example, you can see create table product. So product is what a child table we are creating right now. So already we have created employee table. We have created employee table. Okay. And here employee ID, there is a foreign key here in that product table. There is type of a number, in fact its size is 5, and that total column is references. It is referring which column? The employee ID column in a employee table. Okay, so it references. The syntax what? References keyword is used here. References which column? Employee ID column in a EMP table, parent table, right? This is what that syntax for enforcing a foreign key constraint or the referential integrity constraint. Then product name, that is varchar to indicate. Suppose in case of employee table and department table, there are two suppose table, different tables. Another example, sorry. My parent table is suppose DPT. Having column DPTNO, and second column is DNAME. Second child table is EMP table or student table. Suppose student having roll number is a column, S name is another column, and that student belongs to some department. Suppose here in that table the department values are, suppose meter values later, department number is 10 and department name is CO. Okay. Department name is number is 20 and then is EJ, right? Department number is 30 number is 30 and it's a CR, suppose. So there are 3 records in that department table. 10 department number and CO is the name for that. Okay, likewise here roll number, S name and department number. This is a table, right? The values are while creating the student table, while creating the table called as department, we have to create table dbt in bracket. First name is dbtno. The type of number in bracket, size is 5, suppose. And this is what a primary key. For the parent table, the attribute, the common attribute should be a primary key. So department number, that is constraint name is a primary key for DBT. Then It's a primary key. Comma. Second name is D name. Second column is D name. Type of varchar. Put it down all. This is my parent table. Okay, so I have created this table. And once we written in a SQL, you can get what that table is created. The second table is what? A child table where student is a table name, and while creating the table, we have to impose what? A constraint. Create table student. In bracket, the first column is what? Roll number. So roll number is type of a number. In bracket size is 5. The second column is what? S name. S name again is S name is type of a varchar 2 and type size is 20. And third column, while creating third column, we have to maintain the relationship among the parent table and child table. Right? So dpt underscore no. Right? This column. So the child table column size, then it references to the parent table and parent table primary key attribute. Right? So here, this table, a type of a this table type of number in bracket size is 5. 5. And it references to which column? dpt no column in a dpt table. dpt is a table name, in bracket dpt no is a column. This is the name. Have you got that? dpt number that we are creating here as one column in a student table, and that column is we are referring to a dpt no column of a dpt table. This is what that we are creating the referential integrity constraint. Means thereafter we can say there are two tables. So there are two tables called as dpt no and d name. This is one table, and we are creating another table. Insert so this is another table called as student table. This is a roll number, first name, and third one is a dpt underscore n. Roll number is 1, name is Raj, and the number is 10. So for that, 10 is here, CO is here, 20 is here, EH is here, 30 is here, CR is here, and 40 is here, M is here, suppose. And what we are doing, once that integrity is maintained here, while inserting data into the table, this is student table, this is student table, this is a department table. Okay. While inserting record, once suppose that integrity is maintained and we are inserting record into the student table, we insert into student. So already we have suppose we have to insert one record here, Raj. So insert into student, columns are roll number, comma, test name, comma, DPT underscore N. And the values are suppose roll number 1, name is Raj, and department is, so I have defined 50. So what will happen? What will happen? So while inserting that table particular that row into the table called as student, the value is roll number 1, or suppose roll number 2 is there. That's already the Raj's record is there. So we are inserting second record, that is roll number 2, into the table student, and here while inserting, I have mentioned what the department number is 50. Okay. So as already we have created the referential integrity constraint, it will check what that value in the table, that value we are inserting, that it will check into the value of a department table, department number values. 10, 20, 30, 40. So is there 50 value in that department number? So if it is not, so it will not allow the user to insert that record into the student table, because this violates the referential integrity constraint, because that value is not available in a primary key attribute of a parent table. Okay, but if suppose we are inserting that is 30, so it allows that particular record to insert into the table, and it will be inserted as round 30. Okay, you all got that particular things, constraint. Hello, reply me fast.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so basically what are the constraints? Constraints are the kind of mechanisms to force the user to enter the valid data, right? And it will allows only the correct and complete data into the databases. Okay, for that we are importing key constraints, domain, entity, and referential integrity constraints. The domain basically based upon their domain values. So there are two kind of constraint, that is not null and check constraint. Okay. And in the entity integrity constraint, there are again two constraints based upon the entity of the particular database, that is primary key constraint, and second one is a unique constraint. Primary key doesn't allow null values, and it will avoid the duplicate values. In case of unique constraint, it allows null values, but it avoids the duplicate values. And in case of referential integrity constraint, it will do what? It is used to maintain the relationship among the two entities or two or more entities in a database. Okay, this is what a integrity constraint in a database. Any query regarding that? Any query?